my way home from work. I made a video this morning full of Lashon Hara, and then I watched the beginning of the, a considerable amount of the Chafetz Chaim Heritage Foundation video at work. I showed it to some of my inmates, and I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't post that video. I did upload it. It is private on my account. I don't know if some people want to watch it. It's Lashon Hara against... some people are doing some pretty bad stuff, so it might have toyeles there. It's about the Yafed Rabbinical Council. I mean, what I should probably do is, whoever pays to see that video, I could make it available for a price. I know a lot of these YouTube channels, that's how they make a little extra money, is that they have premium videos. So maybe I should make this a premium Lashon Hara video. But that's not what we're doing here now. Now I talk in Torah and serious things. A connection between Tishah B'Av and Parshas Devarim, and an important message for our whole lives. It's really almost the opposite of Lashon Hara, and that is as follows. We know that although the Zohar really links, the Zohar Chodesh links Tishah B'Av back to the original sin in the Garden of Eden, eating from the tree of knowledge. That's what it's really all about. But that's not what happened, right? But the Beis HaMikdash would have never been destroyed if we didn't eat from that tree. However, we know that the first major event of Tishah B'Av that's set in Bechia L'Doros, that it will be for all generations a day of crying, a day of mourning and weeping, was the Chet HaMeraglim, the sin of the spies. So with the sin of the spies, it's recalled in this week's Parsha. And the words there in this week's Parsha that we don't see in Parshas Shlach, that we see in Deuteronomy, that we don't see in Numbers. That's why we need Deuteronomy to add what we don't have in Numbers, is a horrifically damning sentence. 4 words that, or 6 words if you want to, but the crux of it is these 4 words. That's just the source of all our problems, both on the personal level and the national level. And how horrible it is that these words could ever come out of someone's mouth, and yet people say it all the time. And how we have to approach this and make sure it doesn't happen, and just the opposite. So the 4 words are Mepnei Sin'as Hashem Ha'isanu. If you want to go to 6 words to put it to historical context, Haitzianu in Mitzrayim. Those are the words in Hebrew. So in English, it says, because the Lord hated us. And And then, as I said, to put it into the historical context, he took us out from Egypt. I mean, even you could go deeper than that. It's not only historical context, but it's a contemporary context as well. But that's the source of all our problems. Chazal say, our sages explain that the sin of the spies was that they said with their mouths that which their eyes did not see. It wasn't true. God didn't hate them, and of course, He didn't take them out of Egypt because He hated them. And what's Egypt? Mitzrayim is a term of constriction, being uncomfortable. He took us out of these straits. He took us out of this discomfort because He hates us. Do you realize how ridiculous that sounds? And of course, we're not judging. This is one thing in the Jewish tradition. We hold these people in a very high esteem. The people who heard God at Sinai. We have respect for them. And we recognize we're nothing compared to them. And we're not judging them. But the lessons that we see from their words are really more lessons for us, perhaps even more than they're lessons for them. That's at least how the Jewish tradition sees this. But to say, and just to say that by itself, and then to show how ridiculous it is to say, that to say that because the Lord hates us, that's bad enough. But then to add on to it that He took us out from Egypt because He hates us. Don't you realize it's just the opposite? Obviously, He took us out of Egypt because He loves us. And sometimes we don't say that. Sometimes people do say that. Sometimes we're not saying that. But even if we don't verbalize it, I mean, I think back in my own life, how depressed I was when I lost my job in the synagogue in Richmond, and how much it broke me. And I remember Rabbi Weinberger telling me you didn't belong there. And what I believe is I belonged there when I was there, and I didn't belong there when it was time to leave. But while I was there, I did belong there. I remember going back to move out and feeling very disconnected from a place where I felt I felt a very strong spiritual connection to the city of Richmond. I could feel the spirituality of that city. And right now I don't. And when I went back to move, I didn't. I felt like Jacob, leaving Laban's house. And and I had to do it quickly in the middle of the night. Almost. Undercover. That's pretty much how I felt. Meaning there was something there when I had to be there. I had insights that I had to pick up. I had sparks I had to pick up. Once it was done, it was done. And I had no business being there. And as much as I moped around, I never said, but I moped around. I was like, and I was so depressed, and I just wasn't myself. But then I think back and I preached on this message many times in Richmond. You could say the same thing every year, or even every day, and it's new. But it's not Mibnei Sinas Hashem, my son, Hoitzianim Mitzrayim. God took me out of Egypt. I should be so happy. And now, here I am at a job my dream job. I'm very, very happy. And maybe that could change. Hopefully I learned that lesson. Because right now I'm very happy. But I'm still tempted, maybe they'll hire me in this place or that place. I'll make a little more money. I'll be closer to home. I'll be Zwishen Yidden. One place in particular I have my eye on, I sent a resume to. I should be very happy with what I have. And I am happy with what I have. But God is guiding me just like He guided us. And He guides each and every one of you and each and every one of us. Just like He guided those 42 stations in the desert that we read about last week, that the children of Israel traveled in the desert. They weren't wandering around for Bludgeon. They were following the best GPS there could ever be. That's what Rabbi Fishbane said last week. They had a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They weren't wandering. They were busy. They were doing something. Everything they were doing there was important. No time was wasted. Say such words, such ridiculous words, because the Lord hates us, He took us out from Egypt, or anything else, because anything God does for us, He's taking us out from Egypt. We might not recognize it, but that's why we have to remember the day you left Egypt, all the days of your life, right? Zachor, Man Tizkor is Yom Tzeischa, Me'eretz Mitzrayim Kol Yimei Chayecha. You should remember the day that you left Egypt, all the days of your life. Meaning that every day of your life you're leaving Egypt. We say twice a day in the Anshem L'Keichem Asher Tzeisi, Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim. We read the book of Numbers, chapter 15, I'm the Lord your God, who took you out from the land of Egypt in order to be your God. Every day God is taking us out of Egypt. And it's because He loves us and He wants to be our God. He cares about us. And He's taking us out of Egypt. He's taking us out of Egypt because He loves us. And yet, those words, somebody said them, and Moses repeated them, and God agreed that they should be forever in our Torah. That because the Lord hated us, He took us out from Egypt. And that was the day that was declared to be a day of mourning for all generations. Tishah B'Av. That's why if Mashiach doesn't come pretty soon, Sunday morning we're going to be sitting on the floor, crying once again. Tomorrow night already. We'll be sitting on the floor. Eicha Yashva B'Adav. Ay, Tate, Vater. And so this is what we are involved with. So what's the cure? What's the answer? How do we fix this? Well, Shem Tov HaKadosh teaches there's a bracha that we say every morning. before we say the Kriya Shema. And what do we say in the Kriya Shema v'ahavta? I know, like, the Reform and the Conservative, they love to, like, refer to it simply as the v'ahavta, almost like how the Catholics call the Lord's Prayer the Our Father prayer, and the Reform and the Conservatives, they love to refer to it as the v'ahavta. I never heard that in an Orthodox synagogue. It's Kriya Shema. That's what we call it. It's Kriya Shema. They call it the v'ahavta, and there's a beauty in that. And but before we say v'ahavta, before we say you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your might, and even before we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Shem Echad, before we say Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, what do we say before that? Ahava Rabbo, Ahavtanu, Hashem Elokeinu. With an abundant love, you loved us, Lord our God. Meaning, I remember they said in the name of the, I think it's the Yismach Yisrael, the Alexander Rebbe. He said that when it says that God has faith for us, and we talk about God's faith in the nights, and He has faith in us. He believes in us. We say every morning, how great is your faith forever? Meaning, who does God believe in? God believes in us. Meaning, before you can tell someone to believe in God, you have to let them know that God believes in them. God believes in you. He's given you another day. Make the most of it, because God believes in you, right? And that's what Alexander Rebbe said before. More than we have to tell people that you have to believe in God, we have to tell people how much God believes in them, right? But here we see, before we can tell people how much they have to love God, we have to remind them how much God loves them. So eternal love, with abundant love, God loved us. And He loves us with an eternal love, with an abundant love, with an eternal love. It's interesting, in Nusach Ashkenaz and many versions of Nusach Sfard, particularly those coming out from Hungary, in the morning, when everything is clear and bright, the sun is shining, we say Ahava Rabbah, that God has abundant love. But at night, when things seem so dark and we're ready to give up and it's so cold and we're in exile, it's Ahavas Olam. It's an eternal love. It's not just abundant love, it's an eternal love. And some always say eternal love, Ahavas Olam. And there's reasons for that. We don't need to get into them right now. But the Baal Shem Tov said that the reason why the exile is so long is because people don't spend a long time reciting this bracha of Ahava Rabbah before Kriya Shema in the morning. They have to focus on it and concentrate on it. The Devarim Emunah, the previous Tovas Aaron Rebbe, he said that you could daven for anything during this one bracha. You can always beit an alis. You can pray for anything, because every possible request that a person could have is contained in this bracha of Ahava Rabbah. And we have to say Ahava Rabbah before we can say we have to. We We have to say, you, Lord our God, thee, O Lord our God, loved us, before we have to say, thou shalt love the Lord thy God. That God loved us, that God loves us. That comes before you should love them. And when we recognize that, we're set free from exile. We see the beauty in everything. Because everything that we see in this world is an expression of God's love. And when we don't see that, then even the most fundamentally beautiful, wonderful thing, being free, becomes the opposite. So we must focus on this. Havarabba, Havas Olam, whichever way you say it. God loves us. And God loves us more than we can imagine. Baal Shem Tov also said that, heard this from Rabbi Weinberger, that God loves the most wicked person. What kind of bug is that? More than any father ever loved any son ever in history. And he loves every one of us more than we can imagine. When we say a word of prayer, we study a word of Torah, and we move our lips, God is kissing those lips. So let's celebrate God's abundant eternal love for us, and not forget. Let's teach that to our children and to everybody we know. God loves you. Because of this, through this we can get out of exile. You know, it's such a strange thing, right? Because when a person, God forbid, leaves this world, a pious Jew leaves this world and his family is left to mourn, they don't mourn before the death happens, leading up to the death, and then they come back. No. The mourning begins when a person leaves this world. And then they then they start the mourning 7 days, and then it gets lighter 30 days, and then if it's a parent, it's a whole year. So why is Tishah B'Av the opposite? Meaning it's going higher and higher until we get to this crescendo. But then after Chatzos on the day of Tishah B'Av, it gets a little lighter. And then all of a sudden we have like Shabbos Nachamu, and it's like very happy. Where'd that come from? Well, you know what? Even though we say that the Ark of the Covenant was hidden, so obviously this is not necessarily a historical recount, but rather simply it's a medrash. It's there to teach us a lesson that and it could be a miracle happened, but that when Titus came into the Holy of Holies, destroying the temple, because we said that the cherubim on top of the Ark of the Covenant, when things weren't so good between the Israelite people and God, between the Jewish people and God, they would face back to back. They would face away from each other. And a miracle happened that when the relationship was good, they would face each other. And sometimes one would face one and one would face away. But when Titus came into the Holy of Holies, he found the cherubim embracing, not only facing each other, but in physical embrace. And he made fun of this, but it showed that at that time the Jews and God were closer than ever before. Because we didn't need the temple. Now we don't have the temple, so our relationship with God is direct. And while halachically speaking, obviously this isn't true, but hashkafically speaking, philosophically speaking, we can make every day Yom Kippur, every person a Kohen Gadol, every moment, every place a Kodesh Kodashim, because we're facing God and embracing God at every moment with every mitzvah we do. And it's the same God. Nothing changed in God, of course, but it's the same God who is there in the Kodesh Kodashim, is right here with us wherever we go. Also, the Bavel Shchinim. So, we went to Babylon. The Shekhinah is with us. What does it mean? What does it mean? Gal Bavel Shchinim. So Zohar Kodesh, and it says V'hai Chibur Nafka Megalusa. It's a book to teach us how much God loves us. And with this composition, we'll leave exile. Because when we remember God loves us, we're leaving exile. Havarabav Tanu, this is the cure for Mibnei Sinas Hashem Oisanu. This is the cure. That's the cure. Before the V'yahavtu es Hashem L'kecha, it's a Havarabav Tanu. So, what does it mean? So the Zohar says, can you imagine what it was like? They went by the rivers of the Babylon. There they sat and they wept as they remembered Zion. And the prophet Ezekiel was there, and as Doch Gevein a Kohen, he was a priest. He was like, no. He was gonna go to the mikveh. He went to the river. When he's there immersing in the mikveh, God showed him such an incredible vision. And all the Merkavos, the Efanim, Chayes HaKodesh, and so why do you see all this stuff? Why were all these secrets revealed? So the answer, why do you have to reveal all those secrets? Well, you see, the the people were very depressed, and they said, every nation that is exiled, they're lost, they're assimilated, they're gone. So this means now we're here in Babylon, we're slaves, we're in captivity. God must have abandoned us, and that's it. No more Jewish people. We're finished. That's it. The story of the Jewish people coming to an end here in Babylon. How can we sing the song of the Lord on foreign soil? What happened? Ezekiel, he keeps his devotions, and he sees this incredible vision. The wheels and the holy living beings and the chariot of God. See, why did he see this? Because God was up in heaven, so to speak. God was up in heaven, and he speaks to his angels, and he says, "What are you guys doing here? Don't you see my children? My beloved children are in Babylon. They're slaves. We can't be up here. Go down and be with them. And you know what? I'll come with you too." That's what it says, "L'manchem shalachti bavela." For thy sake I was sent to Babylon. Meaning God, Galil Bavel Shchinam. And so Ezekiel saw all this. And so he went telling the people, they said, why are you guys so upset? Why are you so sad? And they said, "What do you mean, why are we sad? Our temple was destroyed. You were a kohen in that temple. You were a priest in that temple. Why shouldn't we be sad? Our whole existence was destroyed. We're done. God has abandoned us." And Ezekiel said, "God didn't abandon us. God is here with us." Of course, God is everywhere. But talking in his presence, his revealed presence. They said, "What are you talking about, Ezekiel? Cheskela?" I said, "No, he's really with us. Because v'kacher, this is what I saw, and that's what I saw. I saw it all. God's here with us." And so then they were comforted. And I think it's because, when you only tell secrets to someone you really love and you really trust and you really believe in. And so if God's willing to tell us all his secrets, he must love us, he must trust us, he must believe in us. And so Ezekiel revealed these things when the first temple was destroyed. And after the second temple was destroyed, and all the sufferings under the Romans, Rabbi Shimon gave us the Zohar Kodesh. And then that was hidden for a long time, but after the Crusades it was revealed, to remind us again that God loves us. And then after the Spanish expulsion, and people were losing faith, and the Ariya Kodesh revealed what he revealed to remind us that God loves us. And then after Tachvitat and the Katshats and all these other horrible things was revealed again, Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. And out of the ashes of the Holocaust, we had the Satmarov, the big tzaddikim, who again revealed how much God loves us. We should be zoiche to remember that God loves us and find nechama in that. Meaning, after the Chorban, we find the nechama. We find Shabbos Nachmu. We find that in this Galus, God is here with us, wherever we go. God should have mercy on us. We should be zeicha to see Binyan Beis HaMikdash, like we said from the Yismach Moshe. Kol dar shalei nivna Beis HaMikdash, b'yamav kil nechrav b'yamav. That we receive the same kapara that we received at the time of the Chorban, and that we have the same love and connection to God that we had at the Chorban, at the time of the destruction. Then we're closer to God than before. K'ilu nechrav b'yamav. V'chol ha'masabel al Yerushalayim zeicha v'roya b'simchasa. And the Gemara says, all who mourn over Jerusalem, he is worthy and he sees her comforting the Heilige Berditchever Rav Levitzkum Sarsoshim Berditchev Schus Idolin Klus Lomain. He said, it doesn't say he will be worthy and he will see the comfort of Jerusalem, but he is worthy and he does see the comforting of Jerusalem. We can see it right now. By mourning over what was lost, it's not just a building, not just a piece of land. It's a concept. And the real Jerusalem, like the Heilige Zayda, the Chavas Yoar writes in the Makor Chaim, we don't know which way to face to Jerusalem. In our heart we face Jerusalem, but the question is, in our heart we're supposed to be facing heaven, because the real Jerusalem is Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala. It's the heavenly Jerusalem. That's the real Jerusalem. We should be zeicha v'roi b'simchasa of the Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala, and we should be able to bring that simcha here to earth. It's Galus Kvod Shemayim B'Meher V'Meinu.